Hi everyone, and welcome to our first digital tech lunch. My name is Isabella and I'll be hosting this tech lunch today. We will deep dive into a case around digital inclusion and we will also talk about our graduate program and the recruitment process around it. But we're going to kick off with a short introduction about TietoEVRY as a company. So let's have a look at a film that describes that pretty well. So, as you saw in the video, we are basically behind a lot of services that you use daily. And that can be anything from swishing money to a friend or using public transport. We have a very strong presence in the Nordics, but we also have global delivery capabilities. And this means that we have 24,000 employees providing these services daily, and that can be anything from people in software development to UX design to management consultants and so on. We provide these services to customers in 90 countries, to everything from public sector, financial services, retail, manufacturing, and so on. But we also have a very closeness with our customers, which means that we have a presence, for example, in Sweden, that consists of over 20 offices. As you can see in the slide, we have a quite big portfolio of clients, and as I mentioned, in a quite wide range of industries, which is one of the really interesting things about working at TietoEVRY. But let's jump into why we're here today, and we're gonna dive into a case around digital inclusion. In the studio, I have Linnea and I have Jan. Maybe you can give a short introduction to the audience, who you are and what you're doing here today.
Absolutely. My name is Linnea. I'm a user experience consultant, and this I usually describe by saying that I kind of work with applied technology. I try and make sure that the products and services that we make, both physical and digital, are usable to the users, but also hopefully lovable. So it's a nicer user experience.
Yes, hello. My name is Jan. I've been working for more than 15 years with the company, and I'm working as a customer executive, meaning that I'm responsible for all the business and all the deliveries we have for one or a number of customers. For example, Swish, like you mentioned.
Often we hear that people don't really know what we do, and when I joined 5 years ago, there was a lot of things that I didn't know about TietoEVRY as a company. For example, that we actually built one of the first internet banks in the 90s, which I think is super cool. What was your perception and were there things that you didn't know about TietoEVRY?
I've never worked in this big of a company before. I mean, 5,000 people, that's huge. And I was a bit nervous about that. I wasn't sure I was going to fit in. I was worried that would be super corporate and kind of impersonal, but it's not like that. And like you mentioned, being a big company has a lot of advantages because, I mean, there's experts in anything. We have developers in COBOL, which is like an ancient technology almost, or card experts or cloud architects. I mean, it's super nice. And also it means that you can network a lot, and that's like where we work together in one project, which is a research project for HSB Living Lab, which is a collaboration between HSB and Chalmers. So it's you learn a lot through different projects.
Yes, it's same here. I knew almost nothing about the company when I joined it, but I learned a lot along the way basically, and I'm still learning things and meeting new people almost on a daily basis, and I think that's what's so exciting in a company like this. Yeah.
All right. Talking about Swish and the clients you work with brings me to the topic for today, digital inclusion. I mean, we have a date, 24th of March, when the analysts are basically predicting that cash will disappear in Sweden or will cease to exist. And I think this is quite fascinating because, I mean, I've been living here since 2016. And I've used cash once, I think, and that was at a jazz club in Stockholm when I had to pay the band like a little tip or something. But otherwise, cash doesn't really exist in Sweden that much. But I think it's one thing that you choose not to use cash, but we see, I mean, not being able to use cash is a different thing. So this whole thing around cash disappearing. Where is that coming from?
For starters, that date is just a date. Researchers at Handels and KTH have somehow calculated. It's not a decision made by any government or something. We'll see if it pans out like that or not. But like we talk, if Swish, for example, was founded by the largest banks in Sweden in 2012, and pretty short afterwards they already became the #1 mobile payment way in Sweden, and today more than 80% of the population is using Swish on a very regular basis. Very exciting to see how it's evolving like that, and it has a lot of benefits. Like now with the pandemic, you can use contactless payment methods. It also gives benefits in form of tracing criminality and avoiding tax evasion or money laundering, but even following normal crimes through the digital traces money leaves. So I think it's very exciting, this cashless society.
Yeah. I mean, and you're right, and I think also one of the services that TietoEVRY has now is piloting together with clients is, for example, the biometric card, which is also contactless payments. And I mean, it's great, and it has a lot of benefits. But isn't this also somewhat problematic, or?
Yeah, it is, because like you said, it's not a democratic decision. It's just something that's been happening. I mean, probably since 2007, when there was a lot of robberies, people started not accepting cash because it was seen as a security risk. So now you can't pay on buses, for example, because it's a security risk. And you can't pay at shops with cash because they don't accept it. And even government-run museums like Moderna Museet, they don't actually accept Swedish cash. And this is a bit problematic because it's not democratic. And if you're left out of it, yeah, I don't know, it's not for everyone. You can still have cash, so you can more or less not be granted entrance to a museum, not because you don't have money, but because you have the wrong type of money.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, the interesting part is that, I mean, if we as a company, or like you're saying, it's not a democratic decision, but TietoEVRY as a company, like, what is our role? And I mean, that brings me to the next topic, but like, what is our role in this, or who is taking responsibility?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it's not like anyone is taking that responsibility today. Should it be the government? Should it be the banks? Should it be large IT companies that are enabling this, like us today? So that's a pretty tricky question. We feel a sense of responsibility, and that's why we have certain initiatives we work on, which we'll talk about more. But we can't do this alone, and we can't decide this alone either. So.
No, I guess it's broader than that as well. I mean, it's not a democratic decision, but it's still happening. And the fact is also that not everyone has a smartphone. And not everyone has access to bank ID, and not everyone has a debit card. So how do you actually reach that audience? And from statistics, we can also see that the people that are outside of the digitalization, they're actually getting more outside, both because they don't have the sort of smartphone and technical equipment, but also because technical is abstract. It's hard to understand numbers. I mean, we talked about 2007, 2012, and from 2017, we have new coins and bills in Sweden. I brought them with me. And if you're in the digitalization, you probably don't even know what they look like.
Yeah.
But as you can see from this, it's not very easy. You have to find coins by your own. They're very tactile. So this is the 5 krone. It used to be white. Now it's gold. And it has nothing on the side. So you can both see the difference from the other coins and also with the bills. They're different size and they're different tactility. With a 10 krona, you know it has a bit of resistance, but it's also a bit nice. So I guess this kind of appeals to a different type of cognition. So if you have like bad visibility, or if you're intellectually disabled, or if you have neuropsychiatric disabilities, you can still get a feel for how much money you have. With digital, we don't have that at the moment. And this is part what we want to address.
But if we get philosophical, even this cash is just a representation of a value, same with bills and these type of things. So I guess we need to make digital money even better.
Yeah, no, I agree, for sure. We could do better, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. I would say that we would want to make cash, digital cash should be better than cash, because that's what we're getting used to. Digital music is better than old music. Netflix is better than old TV. But at the moment, no one is doing this. So this kind of outsideness, or being outside the digital society, that gap is actually deepening. And I think that's where we come in, because no one is taking ownership of that. And digital should be good, because in its sense, it's really democratic. I mean, with Swish, for example, you can swish 24/7. And if I wanted to swish a really weird amount, I can do that, which I can't do with cash, for example. Or I can do it with cash, but maybe not with anything else. So in its core, digital is democratic, but the digital solutions that exist today are not including everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, we want to change that.
Yeah, and I can definitely relate to that. I was talking to a friend about like the difference between cash, how you can actually feel the money, or like if you would take 10 or 20 crowns out of my wallet, I would feel the difference. But if you take that out from my account, I probably wouldn't notice in the same way. And so it's harder to kind of grasp the value. And I think even though there's great things around it, we can do better. And that's where we come in as a company, where we try to make digital money more accessible. Right?
Yeah. I mean, digital is really abstract. And the fact that you now today with SMS loans and Klarna, what have you, you don't only count the fact that what you have on your account, you can actually also count with the money that you don't have, which makes it even more abstract, because it's just numbers on a screen. So it is not as good as it should be. Also, we can see that from like TV shows like Lyxfällan, and the fact that Kronofogden as well are getting younger and younger clients, I don't know if you call it that even, it is a widespread problem. So we have something that we think is worth addressing. We feel that the society isn't doing it at the moment, but that we as a tech company, I mean, we have the technology, we have the know-how, we should be able to do something about this.
And this brings us to one of the actual projects that we have that you've been working on around making digital money more accessible. Can you share a little bit about this project?
Yeah. It's a combined project, so we're not doing it alone. We're working with Länsstyrelsen in Örebro. They're kind of driving this as well, and we have a school in Fellingsbro, Folkhögskolan in Fellingsbro, where the students are helping us along as well. And we've actually been funded by the government, by PTS, from their innovation fund, to do more inclusive digital solutions. So it's a co-creation, co-innovation project where we get to be the technology know-how, the technology providers, and we work together with our bank clients to really try and solve this, because you're not strong on your own, but when we collaborate, we can come up with brilliant things. So we are addressing this because we think that we should be.
And that's something we see with a lot of clients. To achieve this true innovation, you really need to work with different stakeholders with very different perspectives on things, because otherwise, yeah, you tend to get home blind and forget about other people's perspectives in this. And then what's really cool with this initiative is also this is not something the government told us to do or any banks have asked us to do. It's an initiative that's been taken by the UX team and Linnea, for example, and trying to find funding from public instances like PTS and drive this innovation forward. That's a pretty cool thing to see that happen.
How has it worked in practice? I mean, this innovation project, like what does it mean in practice, what we do and like more precisely in this case?
Well, more hands-on, it means that we're actually workshopping, prototyping together with the users. And the users in this case is this student, it's a class called the project class. It's students between 18 and 25. They all have intellectual disabilities, but we're working together to find out how it should be. So we're prototyping, we're testing, we're workshopping, and we're really making this service together. And the brilliance we're working with this type of target audience and co-developing with them is that if it works for them, it will work for everyone, because that's how inclusion and diversity works. So it's really, it's a really nice, cool project.
Yeah, and I think there you see, or in these kind of projects, you see the importance of ecosystems and partnerships, just like you've been working together with the end user, with clients in different industries, and then in that way, with the right diverse teams, making sure that that you can provide or like innovate in the best services for the future. But you mentioned that that the fact that Linnea, this whole project was an initiative that came from your team. What do you think? What do you think is super critical in these kind of projects? What is needed? What is the key to success in these kind of projects?
That's a good question. I think one big thing why we wanted to start this project at all was that we thought that we had a chance of succeeding. I knew that I would probably get backing from my manager and from the company itself. I also knew, like Jan was in financial services, and that's a kind of a partnership in itself, just the internal networking. I knew we had the connections, I knew we had the technology, and it felt like this is a problem, no one is addressing it, but maybe we can. So I guess it was a chance that I felt that we have a chance of succeeding. But then it's about putting together a team, obviously, to have a team that's multi-competence and diverse to bring this solution together. Like we talked about ecosystems, super important.
And that's pretty cool in our company, I must say, that to be able to be allowed to do these things. It's not in any of our job descriptions to do this. We just set up a meeting over coffee and discuss how could this fly, basically.
Yeah. And I think this is actually, I mean, I work in HR and what we see is that one of the reasons why people love working in this company is that you get to drive these initiatives, you get to make an actual impact, and in things that that mean something and that affect millions of people every day. So and what you mentioned was the importance of diverse teams, which kind of brings us to the topic that we're gonna discuss a little bit later today. But we need competence that is diverse. We need senior, junior competence. We need different profiles, which is the background basically for why we are hiring a lot of graduates. So we are hiring lots of graduates to Sweden across several locations. And this is a way to kind of fill up these teams and make sure that we have diverse teams. So, I mean, I guess we all see the value of these
definitely. I've been mentor for some graduates, and I'm convinced that it has given me more than it has given the actual graduates. We need this input. Yes.
And it's that's the thing. It's like it's a give and take. There's an exchange of knowledge that you transfer to the graduate, and the graduate provides managers and other people in the company.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Super interesting conversation, and I think we could basically all agree that we could talk about this for hours. But unfortunately, we need to wrap up. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Please stay. We're gonna now move into the graduate program. We're gonna move things around a little bit in the studio, and then we have Caroline from the recruitment team joining us. Welcome to the studio, Caroline.
Thank you, happy to be here.
You're going to be sharing a little bit about our graduate program and the setup itself. Could you please explain to the audience a bit how the graduate program, what kind of tracks we offer and what the setup is?
Yes, of course. So we have two different tracks, one specialist track and one rotation track. In the specialist track, it's a track that we have all over Sweden, actually. And in that track, you get to deep dive into one specific area. And we also, in that track, looking for both economic students and also tech students. And in the rotation track, it's a track based in Stockholm. And in that track, you get to try out different roles in the banking industry. Yes, so that's the different between them.
When you mentioned that you get to, in the specialist track, you get to deep dive into an area, so that could be like software development and UX or so on, right?
Yes, all different kind of areas that we offer.
Can you apply to both tracks?
Yes, absolutely. The candidates get to choose which of the tracks they want to be in later on, so to say. Yeah.
All right. I was thinking that we could look a little bit at the recruitment process and the fact that we're using gamification in the process itself. Could you share a little bit about that?
Yes. So we're using gamification for two reasons mainly. The first reason is that we are operating on the candidate market, which means that we're looking for skills hard to find. And we want to be an attractive company, and therefore we need to have tools that are objective, since we as human beings are subjective. Yes, playing a computer game in a recruitment process may sound strange, but this helps us to be objective and have a process that is fair for the candidates.
I think this is really important in terms of diversity, because we know that we have in the past not been very good at inclusion and diversity in the tech industry. So using this type of technology helps us. I think this is a good example of how we can apply technology to actually aid us in a process.
And get the right competence in. Yeah, definitely. Yes, then I was thinking maybe, Caroline, you can share a few tips with the candidates concerning this actual process itself.
Yes, of course. So my first tip would be that you really focus when you're doing these tests. You need to turn off your phone, turn off the computer and all other things that can be distracting. And my second tip will be that when you get to the interview stage, part of the recruitment process, to really think about how you want to present yourself, what you want to highlight, for example. That would be my two tips.
Thank you for sharing. I thought we would wrap up with everyone sharing a few tips on, or like, why do you think a graduate should join TietoEVRY as a company? Maybe you can spin on that too.
Yes. The first reason I would say is definitely our young professional network that is very established. And also we are hiring a lot of graduates to the graduate program at the same time, which means that these people will all join us at the same time and will get their own network with other young professionals or the graduates. That's a network they can use for life, actually.
Yeah, and I can really agree with that. I joined 5 years ago as a graduate, and the network that I built back then does not only consist of you, but also like my colleagues in that program back then has been crucial and will probably be lifelong acquaintances or like a network that I can always rely on. So I think that's a very valid point. Linnea, what about you? What do you think?
I think that if you want to be a part of shaping society, because as we saw in the movie in the beginning, we have technology that's everywhere. And if you want to be a part of that and shaping it and designing it, then you should probably be at a company like ours.
And what I would say is, like you mentioned, even though we're a large company, we still act very local and very close to our customers. If that's something you think is important, to have a lot of interaction with the exciting customers we have and that play a big role in society, then I think this is an excellent company to join, and you will be able to test a lot of different things in this company. Yeah.
There's really great opportunities at TietoEVRY, like different roles and working in different areas. So there's that's really something that we hear constantly in the company, why people choose to come to us. Right now we are looking for graduates, and we will be closing the recruitment on the 4th of February. So make sure you scan the QR code in the screen and apply now. Don't hesitate, join us, and thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.